club. I'm at the club.
CBS News has now obtained video of the scene inside the nightclub as people hid from the gunman. Here's Jamie Yukas.
This grainy cell phone video captures the horror from inside the women's bathroom as Omar Mateen went on a shooting rampage nearby. It was recorded while more than a dozen people squeezed into one stall. Some of them already shot, sharing a glass of water, trying to keep each other calm and quiet so they would not be heard by the gunman. Miguel Leyva filmed this video.
We had to be quiet because everybody whose phone was ringing and any noise he heard, he was going in that direction and just shooting people and killing them.
They huddled for 3 hours, refusing Mateen's orders to step out.
It was really hot in there. The smell of blood and just dead bodies everywhere.
Outside the building, SWAT commander Captain Mark Canty planned a rescue.
During that entire time period, officers were rescuing people. The entire time we were doing things to try to get people out. We got a lot of people out before that last breach.
He's holding on. He moved his own way.
Those trapped in the bathroom had no escape route, and as they desperately texted their families and police, the hostages became the SWAT team's main focus.
In case I didn't think I was going to make it. I thought I was going to die. And I figured, you know what, somebody has to know what really happened.
We knew we believed he was in a bathroom. We knew there were other people. We thought there might be someone in the bathroom with him. There was someone in the bathroom across the hall. But we also were getting information that there were people in other rooms inside the club.
Finally, Canty's team moved in, breaching a wall with a front-end loader. There was a shootout. Mateen was shot dead, and those who were still alive were dragged to safety. Angel Colon had been shot 6 times and was one of the last people to get out.
I'm one of the ones that helped you.
Today he met his hero, Officer Omar Delgado.
I just saw him, his size, his glasses, so I'm like, just help me, please. And when he was dragging me out, I can just look up and tell him, just hurry, please, hurry, go, hurry.
This public memorial has become such an important fixture for the city of Orlando that 4 days after the tragedy, people are still showing up. Scott, grief counselors are not just helping friends and family of the survivors and victims, but to anyone who may need help in the community.
Jamie Yukas in Orlando for us. Jamie, thank you.
Noor Salman, the widow of the Orlando nightclub shooter, is currently on trial on federal terrorism charges for her alleged role in the massacre. 49 people were killed when Omar Mateen opened fire in June of 2016. Yesterday, prosecutors showed the jury surveillance video of the shooting as they laid out a timeline. Today, as they try to prove their case, that video was made public. We caution you, it is graphic. Here's Michelle Miller.
Government attorneys said they showed this video to jurors because they believe it is the clearest evidence they have pointing to Noor Salman as providing material support of aiding and abetting her husband in committing a terrorist attack. The edited courtroom video begins by showing Omar Mateen buying a ticket before walking into Pulse as clubgoers are enjoying Last Call. It's just before 2 a.m. Mateen then leaves the building, but returns less than 10 minutes later and almost immediately opens fire into the main part of the club with his semi-automatic rifle. After appearing to fire off several shots, he walks toward the back of the club, firing again, methodically picking off patrons. He appears to shoot some victims once they are already down. At one point, Mateen drops a used clip and reloads. Stalking back and forth between rooms, he continues to fire away and then heads toward the restroom, where people can be seen on cell phone video huddled in fear. At 2:07, roughly 6 minutes after he started shooting, police entered the building with guns drawn. As they search inside for Mateen, they are seen stepping over victims.
Yes, get outside, get outside.
And evacuating as many who are still alive as possible.
If you can move, you need to leave.
By 2:37, survivors can be seen climbing out of the building as law enforcement continues to enter the club. That video shows the police engaging Mateen, but it does not show his final moments. He was found dead more than 3 hours after the gunfire began. Jeff, the attorney for Mateen's widow, in her defense, Mateen decided to go to the club at the last minute, and therefore she had no idea of her husband's intentions on committing that crime.
All right, Michelle Miller tonight, thank you.
I don't think anybody really knew what was going on until they saw people on the ground bleeding and heard people screaming and heard the commotion, because you didn't know when you're in a bar like that, you really think that it's music.
Traumatized and injured clubbers were helped from the scene and taken to hospital for treatment. One mother received texts from her son who said they were trapped in the toilets and they feared they were going to die. Another mother was distraught trying to find out if her son was still alive.
I don't know where my son is. No one can tell me where my son is. If he's been shot, if he's dead, no one knows. But they told me there are fatalities.
Dozens of emergency vehicles attended outside, including the city's bomb squad and hazardous material team. Immediately following the attack, the gunman is reported to have barricaded himself into the club and taken hostages. The police performed a controlled explosion outside to distract him before he was shot dead. At a news conference, they said he appeared to be armed with an assault-type rifle, a handgun and some sort of device.
Do we consider this an act of terrorism? Absolutely. We are investigating this from all parties' perspective as an act of terrorism. Anytime that we have potentially dozens of victims in any of our communities, then I think we can qualify that as a terrorist activity.
A major investigation is now being undertaken to determine the gunman's motives and whether he was acting alone. Jane Francis Kelly, BBC News.
Good evening. This is a special edition from Orlando, Florida. Today, Orlando became the tragic scene of the worst mass shooting in American history. The shooting occurred before dawn at a gay nightclub called Pulse. Outside the club this evening, you can hear the sound of cell phones. There are more than 50 bodies inside the club. The phones belong to those victims. They are ringing because of desperate relatives calling to find out if their loved ones are still alive. As we said, at least 50 people were killed, still in the nightclub. More than 50 others were wounded, many of them critically, in what the president called today an act of terrorism and hate. Just after 2 o'clock this morning, it was last call for drinks at the Pulse nightclub, popular among the gay community, when sounds of gunfire rang out above the music. A lone gunman, 29-year-old Omar Mateen, made his way into the crowded club and opened fire.
Oh my God, dude.
A massive barrage of gunfire was exchanged with law enforcement and pierced the pre-dawn quiet near downtown Orlando. Today, President Obama said the entire country stands with the people of Florida.
Today, as Americans, we grieve the brutal murder, a horrific massacre of dozens of innocent people. We pray for their families who are grasping for answers with broken hearts.
Armed with an AR-15 semi-automatic assault rifle and a handgun, Mateen was also wearing what police say could have been an explosive device. An Orlando police officer working security at the club engaged the suspect with gunfire, and it quickly turned into a tense hostage situation. This mother came looking for her son.
But I don't know where my son is. No one can tell me where my son is. If he's been shot, if he's dead, no one knows. But they told me there are fatalities.
Minutes later, the club posted this message on Facebook with a dire warning. Everyone get out of Pulse and keep running. Witnesses say people ran out between bursts of gunfire or dove for cover. This text message was written by a man hidden in a bathroom who believed he only had moments left to live. Mateen called 911 to pledge his allegiance to ISIS.
There were 911 calls in which there was conversation between the subject and law enforcement representatives of 911 dispatchers. that has become federal evidence. It's my understanding, I have not personally listened to him, but it was general to the Islamic State.
Orlando police used stun grenades and an armored vehicle to enter the building. 3 hours after the mayhem began, a SWAT team stormed the club and opened fire. The teen engaged in a sustained gunfight. By 5:53 a.m., Orlando police said the shooter was dead, along with 50 others. 53 were taken to local hospitals, many of them in critical condition. The injured were carried out and transported by any means available. One officer was slightly wounded after he was hit in the helmet with a bullet. His Kevlar helmet saved his life. FBI and law enforcement remain at the scene, scouring for evidence.